Welcome to Living La Vita Loca podcast, a retro gaming podcast for some of your retro gaming needs. My name is Faz.
And I'm Rich.
We have not played a Vita game in a little while, Rich. I feel like as Living La Vita Loca podcast, we owe a Vita game every so often, considering. But we started like a fucking train with Vita and PSP games, and I've not really picked my PSP up for a long time now. And I have been playing some Vita games this year. And noticed that you've retired. You've retired that for good, basically. So I'm waiting for the time that it just comes out randomly in a free play.
Like, it'll happen. Yeah, at some point it'll happen.
I've really enjoyed a few Vita games this year, and hopefully I've got another one to share tonight as well. So this isn't technically one of our patented free play fortnightlies. This is just kind of like a free play that we would normally try and score each other's, but because I've got a Vita game, we try and just keep scores. So you need to pick one that you want to talk about from your lovely leather-bound book over there. That you would. Well, what is it bound with? I don't know.
Cardboard.
Bound with anger and hatred. Pick one that you want to score, because otherwise it's open to next time.
I could just make you score it.
Yeah. I didn't see that happen.
That's an option that I have.
But it is, and that's fine. You can do that.
Yeah, and I plan to. Because I don't know what I'm scoring it.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
I don't know what I'm scoring it. So I'm going to make you do it.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fine. Yeah, but how can I guess what's in your head if you don't know what you're scoring?
Well, that's the beauty of it. This is peak free play, my friend. We are through the looking glass now.
Oh my God, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'm going to save that for later, and I'm going to treat myself to my review first.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
I have promised this review to at Where's the Save Point on Instagram a little while ago, because I noticed that they really, really love this game. It's interesting when you look around on Instagram, for example, how many people have picking up Vitas recently. I've seen a lot of people, even just to kind of go, I'll have 3 or 4 games and stuff. So I'll always I sound desperate and stuff. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll know it anyway. But I always sort of like saying, we can recommend a few games and unrecommend a few games as well. If if everyone's asking stuff, and no one ever does. So it's.
Well, it's polite to offer, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but I just feel like we've got a service of certainly a few years of Vita and PSP games because people always say, or can you, like on a post it'll be like, Vita, here's a few games, can you recommend something? And then literally, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can recommend probably quite a few games, but then you just want to sound wanky, like either do you? It's like, who are we to recommend games? And yet here we do it every week, or at least we give them scores. But anyway, so Where's the Save Point? He'd spoken about this game, and he's a big RPG fan,
right?
And I'm not, as I've spoken about previously, but I have played a few recently and tried to be a bit broader in my horizons with that, even if it is like Undertale and Disco Elysium and Knights of the Old Republic, which was not my RPG.
Swing and a miss.
But I've got one here that is. This is Child of Light. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it.
Have you played it?
No.
Okay, so it's on PS Plus at the moment, so you can play this on PS4 and PS5 as well. It was a sort of originally created to be released on major consoles, but also on the PS Vita as well. So it's not an exclusive to Vita. It's made by Ubisoft. So they at this time they were leaning hard into what is, I think, my favourite video game engine that I didn't realise that I loved so much. But when I look at the games that I've played and the games that I love, the Ubi Art engine is like amazing to me. It's like a 2.5D animation sort of style, if you will. Looks very hand drawn. I don't know if that means that it is, or that's just the effect they're going for. But you'll find it in this game. Rayman Origins, Rayman Legends, Valiant Hearts, And weirdly, Just Dance uses this engine as well, which doesn't look anything like any of these games.
I guess it's got kind of a arty style,
a Tracy
to it, right?
sort of thing. Yeah,
like
I guess the outside
silhouette-y type thing going on.
So this uses the same engine, so you can imagine. I would hope immediately if you've played any of those games, you'll kind of get a feeling of what that style looks like. This looks absolutely incredible on the Vita, and it looks incredible when I looked on PS Plus as well. It looks so beautiful, and these are the kind of games that I'd like to develop if I was a game developer. I think
something painterly.
Yeah, very much so. I was going to give something away there, but I'm not going to. Anyway, come back in a few weeks' time, and I'll talk about it again probably. But it's interesting to sort of see in this how the same development studio have used elements of Rayman Legends and sort of like crossed it over into this as well. Not just how it looks, but also some of the gameplay mechanics. And then you also look at another game that I really enjoyed by Ubisoft. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown as well. And there's sort of kind of a little bit of elements as well. And this is where you kind of go, this is good Ubisoft. This is when Ubisoft kind of uses what it's got and doesn't just wang it all on a map and fill it full of crap and do it every single time over and over. Like, and make it feel like, don't get me wrong, there are great Assassin's Creed games and there are great, Far Cry games and things, but there are bad ones of those as well, and the ones that just kind of like use the same thing over and over in a bad way. This kind of like, you can see where here though, the reproduction of good gameplay elements and also a good game engine gives you that familiarity that you like about these types of games. And so I was like, the good feelings I had from Rayman Legends and playing that on the PS Vita, I immediately had these right away with this. They found like a couple of things. So for example, like you have a flying companion, like sort of small flying companion that you use touch controls in Rayman Legends. Is it called Murphy? I think he is. I didn't necessarily get on with him as well as I did with the flying companion in this one called Igniculus. It's the first time I said that out loud. He was like almost like a little torchy sort of flame thing who flies in your main character. But they kind of seem to have honed in this. They're almost like, we had Murphy and he was okay, and we used him for the Vita and stuff, and he seemed to work quite well. And then they were like, how about we do this with Igniculus, and almost like added a bit more to it and made him more impactful. And then I was like, this is how the Vita touchscreen should be used and built into a game, not just bolted on. They've really thought about it. It's kind of taken 2 or 3 games to get to that point. So to give you an idea about what this RPG is all about then, so you play or you control Aurora, who is the eponymous Child of Light. She has woken up in a land called Lemuria, but basically she's just fucking dead. So she's passed away from, I don't know, being lame. I don't know, being just a weak child of some kind. You don't really kind of find out. To be honest,
passed away from weakness.
Yeah. And then it must run in the family, because then her dad, who is so upset about her passing, also falls really ill from feeling weak about just being weak. Basically, they really need to grow a backbone, this family. So I can't remember how the start of the game works, but you are lured to the idea of that you need to return the sun, the moon, and the stars from Lemuria, and you will basically, which are being held captive by the Queen of Night. And once you've done that, you'll be able to save yourself and also save your dad. Typical fantasy RPG.
Yeah, you realise in my head it's instantly beautiful Katamari, right? like that's just where I've gone.
Yeah,
now.
Pretty much.
Cosmos and sorting out the planets and stars. I'm in Katamari world now. Yeah. So you've lost me.
It couldn't be less. It's very. It's probably quite.
It's just on a loop in my head now.
It carries a lot more order than Katamari.
Yeah, God, I love Katamari.
Let's just talk about Katamari again. Speaking about that sort of, the thing, like, and with the child dying, and going back to going back to Undertale, and that's all about a child falling into the underworld and dying, pretty much, and then trying to make their way back. What the fuck was what was 2014, 2015 all about? Why was everyone doing that to the children and put them in hell? And and then Katamari. But whatever point you want to make about that being that.
I mean, there's all sorts going on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's about mortality,
but well, I don't know.
But it could be.
The King of Cosmos is a scary motherfucker.
Yeah.
So, what type of gameplay is this? And so it's a turn-based RPG, but I would say it's like quite light. Like when you describe something as having light touches of certain types of gameplay mechanics. So it's never. There's never really feels like there's a massive grind in this, like to work your way up in XP. It does have all those elements of what you'd expect out of an RPG. Of, you get development, you gather a party, and the party all get different types of powers, and you have battles, and you go up in XP. It has all those elements, but it never really dives into the massive minutiae of what that might be. There are little diamonds that you find, which are kind of like materia from Final Fantasy, which then can add different elements to your attacks and weapons. Again, there's like 3 or 4 of them. It just does a really good job of keeping it sort of, for a person like me, just doing all the right little bits where I go, I recognize this as an RPG mechanic, but it doesn't like delve into it so deep and crush my soul immediately and make me play 70 hours.
But is it light touch enough that some people could accuse it of being a bit superficial?
Yes, right. Which is the only thing I would say. I think that if you, I wouldn't say superficial. I think that's a wrong word, because it does have nuances to it.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah.
And the nuances come in the battle, in the battle arena, which I'll speak about in a bit of detail. The other little light bits, if you will, are there's puzzling and platforming. Most of that is completed via Iniculus, your little buddy. So he basically you can send him around the screen and collect wishes. Now the wishes are just floating about, a lot like this is another Rayman Legends sort of thing, where you get the lums flying around, the little sort of shiny yellow things, and capture them. Instead of those being here, you're capturing these wishes. The wishes kind of float around different plants. I'm doing my hand sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a good evocative action for the folks at home. Very wavy fingers, like a little Mexican wave with your fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Rich. And
it was good.
So these these little fragments, they kind of float, or you can get them inside battles and outside battles. They float around as on top of flowers, and they keep Iniculus topped up with wish energy. And this is useful in several ways. You need wish energy to be able to complete puzzles, but you also need wish energy to be able to use Iniculus to his full powers when you are battling enemies as well. A lot of the early game is really kind of leans on using Iniculus and the swiping and things, and like I say, it works really well. After probably about a third of the game, this is only 12 hours long. After about a third of the game, Aurora gains the ability to fly, which is fine in theory, but I feel like that could have been saved for a lot later in the game, because it kind of renders it was always going to go wrong at some point. Iniculus a little bit sort of redundant outside of battle, because you were using him to reach far-flung places. You were able to swipe him up to like the far corner of a room and do a puzzle up there, or find a treasure chest and open up the treasure chest by giving it a bit of a jiggle with Iniculus. That sounds weird. And where you couldn't reach with Aurora was kind of stuck to your Uncharted 4 pushing crates off cliffs situation. And then all of a sudden she can fly, which is great for getting around, and you can then direct Aurora to all these different places. But then you're like, oh, well, why do I need my little flamey guy anymore? Really, you don't. Yeah. It's a bit annoying, because actually, I was, for the first time, possibly ever, certainly like to quite an extent, I was enjoying the Vita being used in the right manner. And then you kind of go, oh, you don't need to do that much swipey anymore, or any movement around with this person. That is you still use it in the battle situation, but a lot less than after the first third of the game. And I just felt like they could have held that back a bit longer and it probably would have made it a bit more impactful. And you could have maybe put a couple more side quests in, because now Aurora can fly, so you can get to these places. The reason I compared it to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown as well is there's a lot of verticality in the levels in there, where you can go to lots of different you make your way around the temple. What was it called? Queef. The
Queef.
Yeah, do you not
The
remember?
temple
Yeah,
was
yeah,
called
you remember?
Queef.
Yeah. I told you the mysterious mountain called Queef, and you said the exact same thing last time when I said that.
There's a reason for that.
And you move around. And
Queef.
Yeah, honestly, is that QUF?
Really?
QUF.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there or thereabouts, isn't it? Anyway, so Aurora, once you can fly, the levels for the size of the Vita are quite vast. That is, and you can fly into into the far flung corners of these levels and find what you're doing that for. Though, really, you're just finding these little. This is where the light element might be considered as a bit superficial.
Right.
Like you find these little oculi, the little stones that are the materia, or you find little treasure chests. I found loads of treasure and didn't really ever use that much of it. Like, as in, it just almost felt like, and I applied as many materia to my party as I possibly could. All these people, and I forgot about this. So you randomly pick up people as you go, and to keep it down to that 12 hours, and again keep it that light exploration sort of thing. It kind of goes, oh, this is a side quest to go pick up this party member, but actually it's just a main quest. Like it never like you just do all your main quests and you will complete your side quests pretty much. There's one or two that kind of become like you can go back and do different things, but mostly it'll be like, oh, go find this sad jester's brother, and then you kind of do it on your way to the next task anyway, and it's like, oh, well done. And it's like, well, I didn't really do anything, did I?
It's not like I went out of my way.
I flew forward, like, so again, that could be where you could maybe describe it as a little bit of a sort of superficial touch. It depends on who you are, because again, there are dungeons in this, but you can imagine a 12-hour game. The dungeons are quite small and there's not a lot to them, and that is the case. Like you're in and out of these dungeons pretty quickly. This isn't sort of your deepest, darkest Final Fantasies or Zeldas. Like you through them pretty. If you attach all the right elements of oculi to your weapons for the type of enemy you are going to face, you don't really face any problems in this game, I would say.
And do you get a kind of heads up of what you might face before you go in, or is it kind of like a trial and error?
You can. It's probably a little bit trial and error to start off with, but you can sense from the environment, certainly.
Okay, right.
And once the enemy variety is big enough to be interesting, but also small enough to understand that, oh, it's this type of enemy. Yeah. So therefore, I need to attach this type of materia. I'm going to call it materia. Fuck it, like materia to my weapon, and then therefore I know that how I can fight in this manner. And you can, and it's really malleable as well. Like there's so many different options you can apply outside the battle and then inside the battle, and you always see your enemy. That is in, so it's very much like Pokemon Arceus in so much that you're going to go and approach Pokemon. It's not just a random battle that pops up on you. It's not a fucking Sandshrew out the grass or anything. So you can go, right, okay, I've seen that type of enemy before. If you sneak up on the enemy, like you do in a lot of traditional sort of let's say traditional, newer RPGs and things where you have a back attack, and therefore you get a little bit of a bonus for that, or your time that you've got for your real-time battle sort of decreases. So that's still there, that kind of thing. So you can see these ghosts flying around, for example, and you'll go, right, okay, that's a ghost. I'll equip this person. I'll put this person in my party. I'll put this on my sword. It's very easy and quick to do that. You nip into a menu, do that, and then you're going to fly into them when they're facing the wrong way and fight them. And it's like, and there's that going back to that sort of idea that it's not baby's first RPG, but it ain't far off. Like and someone that isn't very good at RPGs or naturally sort of gravitates towards them, I was like, oh, I'm getting all this, and it's giving me enough a feeling of, that it's what 20% of what a normal RPG might be, like in terms of length of time, and it's the right chunk for me, and that's probably why I enjoyed it so much. The thing that I thought was the best part of the game was all about the battle mechanics. I thought these were really unique and something I'd not necessarily seen before with the sort of turn-based combat. This is where the nuances and the depth come from.
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of tutorial around it, but it was quite clear that there's a timing bar at the bottom. Now, what I've seen previously, when you think back to Final Fantasy VII, for example, everybody has a time before they can attack. But you and your enemies are on the same bar here, and
Right.
you have almost like a build-up time to where you then select your action, and then once you do your action, then you have a little bit more time before the action is completed. And it's the same for the enemies as well. There are different buffs and different moves, different actions you can take to speed yourself up, to slow enemies down, and the same for them as well. And it felt quite fair almost that they, normally you would think an enemy, or they don't have lots of special skills. Actually, when it came to the sort of I don't want to call them full boss battles, they're almost like semi-boss battles. Like, they would have a way of repelling what your best move was. So, for example, there's an enemy where if you... Sorry, I need to go back a step here. If you when you're fighting, and if you manage to damage an enemy after they have selected what move they're going to use, but before they get to use it, that would then cause them to recoil and actually send them back, and they might not get to use their move.
Right, okay.
So there's a lot of tactics in being able to time that perfectly.
Yeah.
And then you get with the bigger enemies, sometimes the bosses, that actually if you hit them in that period of time, they'll recoil, but then they'll hit you twice as hard next time. And it's maybe worth your time taking just a normal damage hit rather than doing it then. So you're almost like doing the inverse of trying to time it differently as well.
That's pretty cool.
It was really cool. And then at the same time, going back to Igniculus, you've got him flying around, and if you float him over your enemy, so say there would be 2 or 3 enemies at a time, you could slow down one enemy specifically by having him hover over the top of them as well. So you're kind of maintaining that going on as well. And that uses up his wish energy. And within this sort of room, if you will, where you're having this battle, there might be 2 or 3 of these flowers that you can reuse to build his wish energy back up. But you've got to use that sparingly. You can also use his wish energy to heal your party as well. So you can have him hover over your party and heal you as well. So you've got 4 or 5 different things going on all at once. And for something that felt like such a sort of light touch RPG, in these little sort of, I guess, little sanctums where you're having these battles, there's a lot going on, and it's really exciting. And it was the first time I'd seen the sort of, I guess, that turn-based battle being used with such aplomb. And yeah, I was really, really like captivated by it the whole time. And usually when you play an RPG, I'm like, I can't be asked with the battles, I can't be asked with the grind, I can't be asked getting the XP. I was actively seeking out the next battle because I was excited by the idea of having one and actually what might come next. It would have benefited even more if there'd been even more enemy types. But I'd say there was still enough to keep you interested and think about, right, if you go back to that point of how do I need to set up for this battle? On top of all these different types of weapons and elements you could attach to weapons, every single person, as you would expect with an RPG, has different abilities. And some of the enemies you could hit one with magic, as is the case, and some of them you could only hit with physical attacks. Some of them, you might want to hit with water and electricity, one after another, and that would like sort of multiply. All these little things that I was learning about it as I was going, and I was like, fuck, this is possibly the most fun I've ever had battling in an RPG, I think, ever. It was really unexpected. And I thought the AI of the enemies, they never really sort of like lay down and just took it. Like, as in, there was always, it felt like it was, not like generative AI, but it seems to be sort of thinking about reacting to what you were presenting to it in battle. Not just coming in and going, right, I am this enemy type or whatever. It was almost like think that, this person's low on health. So you could see they actively would all start turning on the person, and it's like, oh shit, that's not good for me. This is bad for me.
Like this all sounds like if they put those battle mechanics in a Pokemon game,
yeah,
I would be all over it.
Yeah, it was pretty much, yeah. I think that I'm shocked that no one's sort of used it since then.
Yeah,
I mean, and I might be kicking about in
homework.
different games, but certainly, like, as in, yeah. I've not come across it, but like I said, I don't play many RPGs, so it might be out there. But it was delightful to be battling, which is the first time I've ever been able to have to say that about RPG. Certainly in a turn-based format. I know that most games now have turned to kind of having that real-time battle sort of thing. So you maybe don't get these as often, but to find this game and go, oh, like, this can exist and it can actually be really, really fucking fun. It was like, great, like, let's have more of it, please. That isn't, and that's when it was almost a bit funny, because then by the time I'd kind of got a bit of a handle on it, and then I think, how many party members did you end up getting? I think in this 12-hour game, you end up with like 9 party members. And like, you can only take 2 into battle with you, though. So you've got to be, but it's very, as I said before, it's very malleable. So you can change them, interchange everything very quickly in the battle. Like, it's not, it doesn't have, as you said with Pokemon, it doesn't have all the constraints of you've only got this many people and you can only bring them out at certain times, etc. It was like, pretty much as soon as your time bar got to the point where you could do an action, you can pretty much do what you want. And there was parts where if you really mastered those time bars at the bottom, and you were on a massive rhythm roll, like, as in, you could start to see how you could just decimate a boss, because you just kind of got the flow of, right, okay, let him go now, don't let him go now, all right, I need to use this type of magic on them, or I need to use a special buff to slow him down and stuff, or actually I need to speed him up, because then that'll mean that, like, he'll attack me and one of his attacks actually makes me quicker. Like, all these kind of little things and stuff there. You just kind of found yourself in a rhythm, and then the game's finished. Like, it's in the 12 hours, and you're like, and for the first time ever, I was like, I kind of want more RPG. It was such a strange experience for me to kind of have the flip of what I always experienced with RPGs. I was almost like, I could have done with this being 20 hours rather than 12. The story's fine. It does enough of that sort of fantasy sort of princess thing. I never really felt moved by it, even though there are quite weighty themes behind, child death and, bereft fathers and things, and wicked stepmothers and all that kind of jazz. And like I say, all those little bits, the little puzzly and platformy elements and stuff, I would say they're quite superficial, and you can almost see where the game's like sort of like the slice. You cut through the game and go, we've got this amazing battle mechanic. Like, what do we
what heck do we do?
Yeah. What do we just tag onto it? So, that is into and make it look beautiful in that engine as well. So, I'm a bit torn about what I would say score wise, because for me, it was very revelatory. But it might not be for other people who play RPGs all the time. So I'm just going to give it what my heart says, rather than sort of overthinking it too much. But I think that this was possibly it's there or thereabouts. I've said this about TXK, and I've said it about like a couple of games, but maybe my favorite Vita game so far. Like, it's in that pool, if you will. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's in like Hotline Miami, for example. That is in, but it's just kind of like in that sort of high 8, low 9 area. I'm gonna go for a 9. I'm gonna skew positive and say, that isn't. I really, and that 9 is, if you do struggle a bit with RPGs, or or you're looking for something a bit different, especially with a turn-based combat, definitely pick this up and try it, because it's really, really fun. And I'd be interested to sort of see what more people think about it, and and whether I am being a bit too effusive.
I mean, like, from the what you're saying about the battle mechanics and stuff like that, like, and I've not played Child of Light, so I don't know how accurate a comparison this is, but like, it is making me think of like Dragon Quest 11, I think it was, like, that in that you would have a battle, and it's kind of turn-based, kind of not, kind of, you might have opportunities to manipulate who goes when, stuff like that a little bit, but it isn't quite to the same degree. But like, that is the only one that's coming to mind as like, oh, actually, maybe I should give that another go. Like, after you've given that review, because it's just floated to the top of my mind as like something that I think might possibly be kind of similar.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me, because my friend on Instagram, Where's the Save Point? That's the kind of game that he would talk about. Dragon Quest, he'd talk about this, he'd talk about Yiz, why is it Ease? Thank you very much, like Yeeps. And sort of say those kind of games would be the, of that ilk. But yeah, I don't think to give it the score that I've given it, I've probably not done it justice enough, like in my review. But that's how I feel about it, if that makes sense. So it's
no, that
almost
makes
like
sense.
just get a number out there. The number takes care of everything, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than me just going like this with my fingers. Woo!
Yeah, yep. That's that Mexican wave thing again.
Is this Katamari?
No, could be. But yeah.
Feels like ages since we talked about them. I
Yeah.
do. When
Yeah.
when the most recent one comes down to just below £20, then
Go
I'm back
time.
in. Yeah. It keeps them floating around about 21, and whatever in my head, I'm a bit like, I need it to be 18, and then then I'm in.
Then we'll talk. Right. So.
This started well.
I was so we talked recently about Halo.
We did.
And Doom, the Dark Ages. Lots of heavily armed big stompy blokes stomping around bigly.
Yes.
I was like, you know what? I'm finally going to talk about Warhammer 40k Space Marine, the Master Crafted edition.
Yeah.
Specifically off the back of talking about Doom and how I was like, oh, but this is,
this is
the best Warhammer
right?
game. And I'm not going to talk about Space Marine today because I haven't managed to quite sink as much time into it as I hoped I would.
Okay.
This last weekend. I want a little bit more time with it, but it's very much on my radar, and this would have been a good time for it. But this did mean that I got to last night. Yeah. I got to last night. This is another kind of bullseye type situation, right?
This is creeping now, Rich. Like, is it to the point where it's going to be like, it got to like 3 minutes before the podcast
this morning. What can I play in 20 minutes and then talk about? Well, I thought, like, you know what? It's a good opportunity to pick something on a bit of a whim that I wouldn't normally play. I wouldn't talk about necessarily, but like, let's shed a little bit of light on it. Let's talk about it a little bit. We don't have to spend long on it, but I do think it's interesting, and I'm kind of looking forward to talking about it. So, have you, Faz, ever heard of a game from 1983 on the Atari 2600 called Oink?
No, I don't know if I have.
Have you ever heard of the Three Little Pigs?
Yes, I have.
You probably know where this game's
okay.
going.
Cool, good.
So, you play as one pig at a time, shoring up a wall of your house from the wolf. In this instance, Bigelow Beowulf.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so you have.
Is that like a meme of some big? I'm sure, like, maybe I'm thinking of the Wolf Among Us, and that he's got like a funny name like that. I can't remember now. But yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry,
but
carry on.
But at any rate, you are one of the pigs. So you have the House of Straw. You have the House of Wood, and you have the House of Bricks.
Yes, got it. Yep. Nailed it.
You've heard this story before. So it kind of works like a life system, and so the setup is the same every time. You are like, they're big sprites, right? So you're quite a large bipedal pig in the middle of this like rectangular space. You've got a roof above you, but like the view is kind of side on when you're in it. So it's very like, it warps your perception of what the house is doing. Something fierce, but we'll save that for another discussion. So
did you just fall into your game collection and just see what stuck to your face? Like,
I was in on the Evercade again, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go. You nearly got checkers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But
I can't have both.
No. So you have this little area that you can move in, like a kind of rectangle, right? And the idea is you have a bunch of bricks spread out across the top of the screen, weirdly just underneath your roof. And then you move up and down and left and right, and you've got a fair bit of space to work with. Underneath you are like 3 rows in a wall, and underneath that is the wolf.
Right.
So while you're inside the house, you can pick up a brick and then drop it into the wall to plug a gap, right? You can either tap the button to drop it basically in a straight line where it is, or you can hold the button to pick the brick up and walk around with it and then drop it where you want,
Okay.
or closer to where you want it. All the while, the wolf is, according to the manual, huffing and puffing. According to what's on the screen, lashing his tongue in and out like a chameleon. Which I think is infinitely more entertaining. It's brilliant.
Oh, no,
he's basically
broken.
like licking up bits of your wall, just tearing at it. It is horrifying. And I love it. It's great. So there he is licking your wall. And you're grabbing these bricks to just plug these gaps.
Wall.
And it very quickly becomes clear that, not least because, the Evercade manual and the little help blurb in the like when you're in the game tell you as much. You can't keep your wall 100% like sealed up.
No,
like there will be gaps in the wall.
That wolf is
right?
huffing and licking.
He goes with it with some gusto and all. Like and so the aim of the game almost becomes more like making sure there isn't a gap in the wall big enough for your pig sprite to fit through.
Okay.
Because if his tongue goes through, and it will go through that wall, it'll come shooting in at an angle.
I'm gonna have so many nightmares tonight.
And it will grab you and pull the pig.
Oh shit! Really? Oh god, like Alien or something.
Like, yeah, it's fucking scary, right? Because it happens fast as well. And so, like, if you're holding a brick and you get dragged, that brick's gone. So you have to go back and get another one to plug the gap that you've just got through. But if the gap is big enough for you to be dragged through it, then an absolutely awful, like, kind of like tune plays, and that's the end of that pig.
Do you
right?
see, like, does the pig get eaten
No,
whole?
no. Like it's mercifully, whatever happens off screen.
Okay. So
like,
that's when it becomes not okay.
Like it just cuts to the next house and the next pig, and you just have fewer pigs in the house, right? So
that's how the story goes, I guess. Yeah.
And then you try and do it again, and you get points for every brick you drop down. I think it's like 4 points, and it builds up pretty quickly. And so the idea is to just keep plugging gaps as best you can, or at least making the gaps small enough that you can't fit through. Build up your points, and that's it. It's basically a high score game.
Yeah.
And you just survive as long as you can with the 3 pigs you have. What's kind of cool about it is that there's a sort of a couple of 2-player options as well. So you're against the computer. Normally, if you're playing it as a 1-player game, the computer is the wolf. You have the option of like cooperative against the wolf.
Oh, okay.
And you can also do pig versus wolf, player versus player type stuff. I didn't play that. I asked my wife if she wanted to try it, and she said, "No, this game is cursed.
Please do not make me play this game."
There's another game that I asked her if she wanted to do multiplayer on. She was like, "No, that looks shit, but we'll come to that another day." Yeah, like it's fast, it's frantic, it's quirky, it's endearing, it's horrifying, it's colourful. I kind of love it.
Yeah,
I kind of love it. Like, it's one of those ones that, had I not found myself in this position on a Monday night,
on a school night before an exam,
what can I play in like well under an hour and still talk about? Like I wouldn't have really necessarily have thought to give it the time of day. And then,
had you heard of it?
No, I hadn't. No, hadn't heard of it. Hadn't
I feel like
seen
I've
it.
seen it in a magazine one time, but
it's got a distinctive bit of cover art. It's on the Activision 2 collection on Evercade. So if you've been looking at any Evercade type stuff relatively recently, it may well have popped up because it's on a relatively recent cartridge,
like an errand tongue just popping
something
up.
like that. Yeah, and I tell you what, like what's also kind of weirdly scary about it, I guess, is that like the wolf, and I don't know if this was just like, if there's anything to this, or if it was just my kind of sleep deprived mind watching this horror unfold in front of me, but like I swear the wolf's AI, however they've approached it and put it together, I swear it gets a sense of when it's managing to open up a bigger gap on the wall, and it will focus its efforts around the bigger gap.
Okay.
like if you move, it'll change its approach a little bit, but it'll still kind of know that that gap is big enough for a pig.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm going to be. But then to keep the score up, you have to be over there anyway to plug that gap. So you're kind of coaxed into putting your pig in danger to keep playing the game. It's like weirdly as a really small little risk reward like illustration of how you could approach it.
Yeah,
I really kind of like it. Like it's very simple but very effective. And there's a couple of other ones on the Activision 2 cartridge in particular that I've been enjoying. Like Cosmic Commuter is another good one where you're having to pick up people and take them back to your spaceship, but you have to negotiate fuel on the way and blow things up, and you got to make sure you've got enough petrol to get back and stuff like that.
I feel like I've played that when I was younger.
Like I hadn't come across it before, and kept failing, and was like, oh no, I need to be picking up passengers. It's basically Crazy Taxi in space. And I just didn't realize. But that was another good one. And yeah, like this really like just caught me at the right time in the right way, much like an errant tongue bursting through a wall. And yeah, like it's. I'm just scanning my notes to see if there was literally anything else I was going to cover about it. And I don't think there really is. But like,
so there's no way of you don't get to cook the wolf or anything at the end.
No,
just literally,
or at least not as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, is there a kill screen?
I don't think there's anything like that. Obviously with the Evercade, it's a bit easier to like save it if you've got a high score and all that kind of stuff. But I think I had a quick look on Wikipedia earlier on, just in case there was like literally anything else to mention, and I think there was something on there in like an early copy of the game or something like that had a competition where you could like send in a photo of your high score and get like a patch or something. But yeah, like that's basically all there is to it.
Genuinely horrified right now.
It is a very simple game. It's like, especially for being on the Atari 2600 originally, like, and this will sound stupid, especially considering we've talked about the Atari collection and 2600 games before and stuff like that. I am still surprised, and in a pleasant way, when I come across a game from that era, from that console, from that machine, whatever you want to call it, like that runs as fast as some of these things do. Like it's incredible to me. And I'm not saying that to like, slight it as being like an old piece of kit. Like, oh, how could it possibly do this stuff?
Yeah.
I'm more surprised at how fast video games moved out the gate. And this is one of those ones that like, I played it a couple of times and was like, oh wow, there might be something here. And then I found myself, however long later, still playing it and like pouring through the manual to be like, okay, well, how do I like do this, and how can I make the most of my time playing it and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, again, and this is something else that I keep saying, and the more we play stuff for this podcast, the more I keep coming back to it. It was fun.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed my time with it. It wasn't a long time, but like, don't get me wrong, that's the kind of game that I could totally imagine that were I around at the time, were I playing stuff at the time, and I got this fucking Christmas or a birthday, I could imagine that I would be rinsing that and have some really fond memories of like just beating my head against a wall to try and do better with it. And yeah, so it ticks many of my boxes.
Yeah.
It is very simple. There is not a lot of meat on the bones, despite the fact that the sprites of the pigs are quite big.
There is meat on the bones.
So there's meat somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was a really pleasant surprise.
These are the kind of games that the value for me that they hold for me is that I can almost, you can see the cogs whirring, you can see the programming, and still, but it's still elusive enough to be like, how has someone made this work so well back in '83? And they're the ones that always bring me back to, oh, maybe I should have a look into how you program and use the spectrum or whatever, because that isn't, because all it really is nowadays is just glitz, glamour, and extra bits on top of that. What you're effectively kind of playing there, almost a bit of a shmup in a way. Like,
it felt like, almost like you were the boss in a bullet hell shooter, and the wolf is the player trying to shoot you, and there you are trying to like dodge around every which way and just be as defensive as you can. And I think you've got a really good point there, actually, about like almost seeing how the cogs turn. And I think that adds something to it because you can then start to try and unpick it, and then you can start to try and exploit it.
Yeah.
And as soon as you pick up the tip from the manual and the help screen about like just making sure that there isn't a gap big enough for the pig to fit through, suddenly you feel like the cleverest fucker ever because you've managed to outfox a wolf. And
it's a different story.
But like, it's the fact that sure, somebody told you that tip, but you're the one that made it happen. And I can just imagine that if you managed to work that out for yourself, like how frigging clever would you feel?
You had to bring a helpline back in '83.
Well, this is the thing, right? And like, there is just something so, like, I think the more that I play more recent games, and the more jaded with them I sometimes get, and I do know that I get jaded with them. It's so refreshing.
Yeah, good palette
to go back to something from 1983, or maybe even 1982 when they were actually making it and it came out in '83 or whatever. But like, it's just so simple, so effective, does one thing well, looks good doing it. I mean, it sounds bloody awful, but like, you don't have to play it with sound on. And yeah, like it was just really, really pleasant surprise.
Yeah. How awful it must be for you to, if you're not going to give it a score and I'm not going to give it a score, then how how awful that must be for you. The joy on your face of the hour that you spent last night. No, this is hard because like you've enjoyed it so much. But do you score it down because it's a one-trick pony / pig? But I don't know. I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm going to give it Oink an 8.
An 8?
I'm going to give Oink an 8. I am. What are you going to score it as? You said you didn't know anything in your head, and now clearly it was
I didn't,
the exasperation that came out of you.
No, but that's the thing. Like, now I've been talking about it, I think a view has kind of coalesced. And
that was like a 4.
No, like not necessarily a 4.
I tried to add one more.
I was thinking a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
And I think,
fucked it.
Oddly, no, it's not. It's not a case of like.
Look, it's on the sheet.
It's not a case of that.
It's the sheet.
It's a case of like, you know how Halo Reach I scored a 7, and then was like, I can imagine that score would go up with the multiplayer.
Don't mention that again. I'm like, Oink, the game has just defeated Halo Reach.
Yeah, but I think for me, now I think about it, Oink falls into a similar bracket where I really enjoyed my time with it. But I can imagine that the extra little secret sauce would be what goes on with the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And like how engaging or not that is.
Okay.
Because like, if it's just you're taking it in turns as the pig against the wolf, that's just the single player dragged out. Like, it's not the same as a proper multiplayer experience. And I've not really been able to test that.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that would make or break it would be that little multiplayer component. Potentially, yes, an 8.
Which bracket is it most likely to win? when it comes to December, it's like, I
don't know.
I feel like I need to move it out of Halo Reach's bracket and keep it an 8 because I don't want Oink to be. That tongue to be wagging its way to victory. Like,
I find there is just something so brilliantly endearing about the fact that someone was like, you know what, let's make a video game out of the 3 little pigs.
You are a sociopath.
I just find like this is what I really enjoy about these bits of the podcast, where I can like find some obscure stuff and just be like, how have we never talked about this? How have I never played it? Like, why has this not been on my radar before? And like, I know there are plenty of people that would have a whole bunch of views about Evercade and cartridges and all that jazz. But like, I think for me, that is the real value of what that system is doing, is bringing this stuff to me that like I just would not have ever considered playing otherwise. And there it is, just like lurking on a random cartridge that I've picked up because
definitely lurking.
I've heard of a couple of things on it, and I'm like, you know what? I would kind of like something like checkers to play on this thing handheld. Oh, it's got checkers. Great, let's go. What the hell is that? Oh, it's Oink. Oh, that's actually quite good fun. Nice.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you and how excited you have, made that. Like, as in, because that's the part of the podcast that I like, is when you bring these obscure, weird, freaky things out, and I'm like, it's like, whether or not they are very strange sort of Japanese shmups with naked men and stuff,
Leave Choniki alone.
Yeah. No, I'm praising it. Like these far-flung corners. How many podcasts are talking about Oink in 2020, in 2026?
More of them should be, frankly.
Surely there's just one, right? Like,
I hope so.
Just
if
one.
anybody else knows of any other ones out there, then let us know, because fair play to them.
We'll go on multiplayer on Oink. How weird, but thank you for doing that. Also, because it kind of does a bit of a Brothers Grimm kind of esque, fairy tale feel to the podcast. Really
excellent. Yeah,
there was definitely no weird wolf tongue shit going on in mine. Like, as mine was just standard. So to really pick that up, maybe I feel like I should have brought Charlie like down now, because I'm like, the story was nowhere near as good as
tongue.
Yeah. That's the end right there. Bye, guys.
Cheers.